So we are here today on the Suicide Prevention Day to talk about how communication of feelings are important in one's life.
Yes.
So as we were saying that there is no particular definition as to what are emotions. So can you explain what are emotions and
Yes.
how? Yeah.
Yes. So, communication of feelings is a very important topic. And firstly, it's important to understand emotions and feelings, which are, two words which are used very interchangeably, but they have difference in them. It's emotions and feelings is not the same thing. So
Yes.
when we say emotions, emotions refers to a physiological response, that is a body's response to a stimulus. Stimulus can be something inside of us like a memory or a thought, or a physical sensation, or it can be something external to us, like any external trigger. So whenever there's a stimulus, the body, the nervous system produces a physiological response to that stimulus, and that is a state of arousal. Okay, you can feel that something is going on in your body, and that is the emotion. But the subjective experience of that emotion, the way we reflect on it, the way we describe it to ourselves, and the valence we attach to it, meaning, do we say that it's a positive feeling or do we say it's a negative feeling? And that is the feeling component. The subjective component of the physiological arousal is the feeling. So these are two different things. uh, but emotion has a evolutionary from an evolutionary perspective, emotions and feelings are extremely important, because they serve three important functions for human beings. The number one is survival function, which is keeping us safe from danger and alerting us to possible dangers in our environment. Times when human beings used to live in unsafe environments, and jungles and caves and things like that. They needed to be warned of predators and of any dangers in the environment, and the body has developed this evolutionary mechanism in our mind to alert us to danger. So that is the first function. The second function is that of communication. So human beings, even if they don't use any language, they can communicate through their facial expressions and non-verbal behavior, which is body language, right? So, and that is predominantly as a result of our emotions. So you can see somebody's feelings on their face, and accordingly you know whether to approach that person or to not approach that person, and how to communicate. So it can be just looking at somebody and signaling through your face or body can be a source of communication. The second thing, the third thing, a function that it serves is that of relationships, right? So possible mate selection. So in the presence of another person, if you feel a positive sensation, right, you
Yes.
say that you like that person, and there is feeling of love and like, and you want to be with that person. On the contrary, if you get a feeling of some negativity, negative vibes, or you don't like somebody, that is possibly your evolutionary mechanism which is telling you that stay away from this person. Okay, so emotions serve a signaling function and they serve a survival function. So extremely important.
Yeah, so ma'am, is there a difference between positive emotions and negative emotions? And as you said that, like, we feel good about when we are with someone and we like them, we feel good, and we are not with a person we don't like, so we have negative vibes. So
Yes.
can you please elaborate on that? Why do that happen?
Yes, so like I said, they have a evolutionary basis. So
Okay.
positive emotion and negative emotion is just our subjective reflection of the physiological arousal. So like I said, emotion starts with a physiological arousal, something happening in your body, and then the way you interpret it, according to the situation, according to your thought processes, according to how you're feeling, that becomes the actual feeling component of it. And on the basis of that feeling and thought component, then you take certain action or you don't take certain action. So if you uh, you know say that this bodily sensation is giving me a pleasant sensation, I'm feeling happy or excited or surprised, that is a positive emotion. Okay,
Yeah.
something which takes you towards the positive direction or positive behaviors. While if you interpret the physiological sensation as unpleasant, for example, that which happens when we are anxious, so we all know the feeling of the butterflies in the stomach and the palpitations that you have when
Yeah.
you're anxious or an exam is approaching or you're about to propose to somebody, right? So that unpleasant feeling, once you interpret it as unpleasant, it becomes a negative emotion, and it tells you that the situation is threatening and to stay away from it. So emotions are very strongly linked with the evolutionary process, the mechanisms in our brains, right?
Yeah.
But feelings are the reflection and the thought process of that experience, right? So
Ma'am,
that is, so emotions basically then have two components. One is the arousal component, and second is the valence component, which is whether you label it as positive or you label it as negative.
okay. So what is emotional intelligence? Like, how do we define it? How do you relate
Right.
emotions with intelligence?
Right. So, in the 1990s, there was somebody called Daniel Goldman, and he came up with the concept of emotional intelligence. So, basically, what was happening in organizations was that it was realized that people who are highly cognitively intelligent, that is, people with high IQ, they perform very well at individual tasks. But when it comes to team tasks, when it comes to working in a group, then intelligent people seem to be falling short of what was required, because they could not work efficiently as part of a team. So Daniel Goleman came up with this concept of emotional intelligence, where emotional intelligence basically means how aware you are of your own emotions and how well you can regulate them in different situations, how well you can express them, and how you can use that emotional energy to your advantage. And also, part B of emotional intelligence is also understanding how other people are feeling, how the person in front of you or the group is feeling, and how you can help them also to regulate their emotions, right? So it's
Yeah.
basically about emotional awareness, emotional understanding, and emotional regulation. Just like the regulator of a fan controls the speed of the fan, similarly the regulator helps us to control our emotions in various situations so that it works to our advantage, right? So that is
Hmm.
basically the concept of EI. And people, it has been found that people who have high emotional intelligence tend to work very efficiently in organizations and groups,
That's
right, as
good.
opposed to
Yeah.
people who are just high in IQ and low in EQ.
Okay. So, ma'am, if we talk about mental health issues, what do you say? When do mental health issues arise, and why do they
Right.
arise?
So,
Yeah.
right. So, you need to get back into childhood, when we are young. So, actually, newborns are equipped with emotions. When a child is born, when a baby is born, they are already equipped with 6 basic emotions. Things like happiness, sadness, anger, surprise, disgust. If you put a bitter tasting something in a baby's mouth, they'll make a face, so they
Yeah.
know that it's disgusting, right? If you smile, they also smile when they are feeling happy, and they cry when they are feeling sad, and they also show anger. Okay, so there are these 6 primary emotions which are present at birth, and these are universal, means they are there in all human beings all across the world, everywhere. Okay, but then
Um,
as children start to grow up, according to the messages that they receive from the significant others in their environment about how they should be feeling, whether they should be expressing their emotions or they should not be expressing their emotions, this is something called emotional display rules. We
okay.
begin to learn this even in our first year of our life. People start to comment and they tell us that, why are you laughing unnecessarily, or yeah, why are you crying, or you should not do this, you should not do that, if you're a good girl do this, if you're a good boy do this. So from the very beginning we start receiving socialization messages, and they have to do with your particular culture, tribe, and community, and they also have to do with your gender. So there are different messages which parents give to boys, different messages which are given to girls, right? And
Yeah.
we grow up believing in these things, and then especially in our culture, like collectivistic cultures, Asian cultures, it is considered impolite to show excessive happiness, and you are told to keep your emotions in check. Also, you are told to see the situation and then accordingly respond. So all the time we are inculcated a sense of immense shame and guilt on showing our emotions, particularly negative emotions. Also, we are told that if you show your emotions you will become vulnerable, that other people will take advantage of you. So whatever you're feeling inside, keep it inside and don't show it on the outside, right? So such kind of messages. And also people are told to negate other people's emotions. Use your mind, don't go with your heart. All the time we get this message, right?
True.
And stay away from intensely emotional people, because they're very volatile and they're dangerous. So stay away, they are unstable. Okay, so we get all kinds of negative and positive messages about what emotions are, and whether to show or to not show our emotions. Now what happens is, if you learn not to show your emotions, or if you don't even know what your emotions are, first of all, if there is no awareness, if there is lack of awareness about emotions, and what are positive, negative, what are healthy emotions, what's the function of emotions, you can through these messages learn to bottle up feelings inside. Okay, so
Yeah.
through your childhood and particularly adolescence is the time when you feel that nobody outside really understands you, what you're saying. Okay, and they don't care about you, or they don't understand you. So in such a situation you learn to bottle up your feelings. Okay,
Yeah.
or when there is danger outside, or there is some ambivalence or abuse or something like that, you don't show your true emotions. Okay, you learn to put on masks on your face. So in different situations you react differently according to the demand of the situation, and not really according to how you're feeling. So the more and more you bottle up these feelings inside, the toxicity, the emotional toxicity increases in the brain, right?
Yeah.
So just like if you start taking the wrong kind of foods and things, you build up toxicity inside of you physically. Similarly, non-expression of emotions or bottling up of emotions, a non-awareness and acceptance of emotions can lead to this situation of emotional toxicity. And the more this toxicity builds up, the more you are at risk for mental health problems.
True. So, ma'am, as a doctor, do you suggest that we should not suppress our feelings, practice more and more self-acceptance, and not tell anyone to show their feelings, because we don't show our feelings, we usually suppress them. As you said, that people say that stay away from people who are showing you feelings. They are volatile and they are dangerous. So, do you
Yes.
say that? Yeah.
So, everyone needs to be a little emotionally intelligent, first of all. You need to be aware of your emotion, your feelings in different situations, and those of possibly other people. And then, there are healthy ways of expressing emotions by acknowledging, first of all, validating that this is how I'm feeling. So it's not that you tell these things only to other people, it's also that you tell it to yourself. So
Yeah.
there is something called self talk. All the time we are giving ourselves messages about what is right, what is wrong, and how I'm feeling. I'm so stupid, I should not be feeling like this. It's wrong to feel like this. And I'm not feeling anything, or getting just emotionally numb. So you are negating your emotions to yourself. And then when you don't own up or express them outside, you're doing the same with other people. Okay,
Yeah.
sometimes it is also a way of manipulating, that you don't tell the other person your feelings, so you're manipulating the situation in that way, by reserving your emotions and feelings to yourself. So expression of emotions is extremely important, because if you keep bottling it up, and if you show a double face where you're feeling something inside and expressing something else outside, it can over time lead to mental health issues.
Yeah. As you said that we should express it. So, what can be the different ways of expressing emotions, healthy ways that people can use to express emotions?
Right. So, first of all, it's important to be self aware. Understand, in different situations, how do you end up feeling. Acknowledging that I'm feeling angry, or I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling extremely happy. So acknowledging that to yourself, number one. Another thing is to express it there and then in the situation. And if you're not able to express it, then at least journal it, write
Okay.
it out, or use some kind of creative methods. Like very well that artists, creative people, what do? They channelize their emotions into art. So
Yeah.
either drawing, painting, dance, storytelling, could be so many things. So instead of bottling it up, there has to be a verbal expression. If a verbal expression is not possible, then journaling. If journaling is also not possible, then some creative pursuits, creative way of expressing your emotions and being in touch with your inner self, how you're feeling. And also using these emotions to navigate then your relationships and your daily lives. Only
Yeah.
when you are true to yourself, only when you understand your true emotions, can you use them to navigate your daily life, right?
Yeah.
And another way of expressing emotions is that somehow if you feel that I'm not feeling anything, I'm emotionally blank, or I am so emotionally overwhelmed, I'm scared what I'm going to do, how to express that in a safe way. Then, in such a scenario where you don't feel yourself up to, managing your emotions, you can seek professional help.
Yeah.
And also, we have to be very sensitive to other person's emotions and feelings. So, validation is very important, right? So,
Yeah.
Saloni comes and tells me that, ma'am, I'm feeling very scared. So, I said, no, no, you shouldn't feel scared. What's the point of being scared? You're a brave girl, don't be scared. So, what am I doing? I am brushing away your emotion, right? I'm telling you some message. But first of all, what I need to do is to acknowledge that, Saloni, I understand that you're feeling scared in this situation. It's okay to feel scared. It's fine, you know. So
Yeah.
first of all, you accept your emotion, validate it, and ride over it. Just like people do surfing. So they wait for the big waves to come and they surf over. They don't go under the wave, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So just like you surf a wave, similarly emotions is a physiological arousal. So you surf over that emotional arousal, that physiological arousal. Because emotions don't stay forever. They come and they go after a while. As soon as the event passes, you don't even remember how you were feeling,
Yeah.
right? So validation, surfing, expression, all these are very important.
So, ma'am, we have talked about how a person should manage their own emotions. But what if we have a friend who is feeling low and they are not able to talk about it very openly? So, in that case, what should we do? Like, what should
See,
other person's approach
yes,
be? Yeah.
yes. So, in cognitive behavior therapy, we have a big component, sorry, of something called psychoeducation. Psychoeducation basically means providing information. So,
Okay.
as a friend or as a family member, you can provide facts to the person, who is troubled, what emotions are, and what function they serve, and why it's important to express them. And then you can encourage them to first start expressing their emotions through verbal or non-verbal means, right? And it's
Yeah.
very important as a friend or a family member to first validate. See, the first instinct we have as a human being is to start giving advice.
Yeah.
अरे तुम ऐसे क्यों सोच रहे हो, you're so stupid, you shouldn't be thinking like this, you shouldn't be feeling like this, what a scaredy cat you are, or what, how foolish you are. So instead of saying such loaded messages, first you have to help the person acknowledge that this is how I'm feeling and it's all right. Okay.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
then if you're feeling like this, what does this tell you about yourself and the situation, right? So before giving anybody wrong messages, first of all you have to sort out your own emotions. Sometimes it
Yeah.
happens that you yourself are messed up and then you are helping another friend. That's the worst thing to do. Okay.
Yeah.
So first you have to be clear in your own heart and mind, and then number one thing is to validate. That's what all psychologists do. We don't tell the patient or the person that you're stupid to feel like this, or you're wrong to feel like this, right? So number
Yeah.
one thing is validate that it's okay, it's human, you're human, right? Now what can you learn from this situation, what can you do about it? That's the second step. And then express it. First express it and then see how you want to regulate your behavior accordingly. right?
Yeah. So, ma'am, what should we do in the case of when a person is feeling suicidal? How do feelings and emotions play role in that? What to do to regulate that behavior?
Yes. So, that is a very important question, and it's a very serious topic also. So, I had told you that once you start bottling up these emotions, the emotional toxicity increases and you end up having mental health issues. So, people with suicidal ideation and behavior are usually people who have a history of hopelessness and helplessness and worthlessness. Hopelessness means that they don't have anything to look forward to, or at least that's what they tell themselves, that my life is just a pile of nonsense. I have nothing to look forward to, and there has been nothing good in my life. Also helplessness, that I'm helpless, I don't see any other solution. And worthlessness, that I am good for nothing and other people will be better off without me, this world will be a better place without me, right? Because I am such an awful person. So, because of such feelings and because of a lot of shame and embarrassment about maybe a mental health issue that they are having, or their inability to sort out a problem, or their these feelings of worthlessness, what happens is they start feeling like that it's better that I end my life only. And we need to, with suicidal behavior and ideation, we need to be aware of certain myths, and we need to be aware of red flags. Often it is said that people who want to commit suicide just commit suicide and they don't give a warning and they don't listen to anybody. But that's not the case. Usually, it has been found that people with suicidal ideation usually communicate these feelings of emotional distress. And jokingly or in some manner, they might even say that I want to end my own life. They might have started, sorting out stuff in their life, or they may seem extremely moody, sometimes up, sometimes down, and easily flared up, or very extremely silent or withdrawn. So if you see a person being very different from what they usually are, you know and they have talked to you sometime about ending their life, or about being a burden to to people or their family or society, then that is definitely a red flag. And one must not leave such people totally alone by themselves, because um, there is also a big sense of loneliness in these people. Even when they are surrounded by different people, they feel lonely, because they feel that nobody really can understand the pain that they are going through, and if they just express it, they'll only be made fun of, or nobody will understand them, right? So it's very important, first of all, to validate feelings and help them express their emotions, and also help them look at other options apart from ending their life in that situation. Because there is a very important theory regarding emotions, which is called broaden and build theory. Okay, so basically it says that when we are feeling negative emotions, our vision becomes extremely narrow. All we can see is whatever goes with that emotion. So if you're feeling extremely worthless and negative, you will only see aspects of your life which validate that feeling. So your
Yeah.
vision becomes extremely narrow and short sighted. You don't pay attention to any other contradictory information. Also, when you're feeling positive, on the other hand, when you're feeling happy and positive, then you are at your creative best, because it leads to a broadening of your cognition. Just like negative emotions lead to a narrowing of your emotions, happiness and joy and hope lead to a broadening of your cognition. So you can think better, you can think creatively, and look at really other aspects of the situation, right?
Yeah.
So it's very important to understand what emotions and feelings are and the role that they play in our lives, and to be true to our emotions, to validate emotions, to communicate and to talk about emotions. And I think, Saloni, the main problem these days in our families is that nobody really has the time to talk to anybody. Everybody is just so busy on their mobiles and their gadgets, or in whatever aspect of their life, whether it's the mother, father. What's the reason that on all this lockdown we all have been together as families, but still mental health problems have risen like nothing, never before?
Yeah.
This is the reason, that people don't talk to each other. People don't spend quality time with each other. Kids don't want to talk to parents. Parents don't want to talk to the kids. Or when you want to talk, then they don't want to talk, right? And often kids feel, I talk to my own son and he says that what's the point, you're not going to understand, you have your own perspective and you are not going to understand, what I'm feeling or why I'm saying what I'm saying. It's the same for parents. So communication is avoided.
True.
The more you avoid communication and the more you avoid expression of feelings, the more problematic it becomes slowly. And the person who has already this sense of low self-worth and hopelessness, will further become cornered more and more, and they will be more socially withdrawn, and the only option they will see then is to end their life.
Yeah. Ma'am, also in cases that we see that people who have everything, like celebrities who have fame, money, and everything, they feel sad, and we have seen in the past days that people who are famous have committed suicide very recently also. So, what do you say that even when people have everything, money, fame, what what are the emotions they feel, and why do they do that? Like how negative emotions
Yes.
play a role there.
That's a good question. So, people who seemingly seem to have everything like good looks, lot of money, fame, attention, and you get very surprised that, how do these people feel sad and why do they end up taking their life? But there have been so many examples. So, it's like you have a pretty bird, very beautiful bird, and you cage that bird. What
Yeah.
happens? That bird is very beautiful, sings wonderfully, but slowly stops singing. Okay, and everybody looks at that bird with awe, wow, how beautiful and wonderful, what a creature. But the person is caged. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think similar kind of things happen with these celebrities and people who are very, very well known, that they are surrounded by people and attention all the time, but they don't feel a sense of connection with anybody. They are
Yeah.
not able to express their true emotions, how they are feeling, whether they are feeling scared or overwhelmed or extremely excited, right? So
Yeah.
it's very important to understand that whatever you see from outside may not necessarily be true. So
True.
somebody who looks very, very fortunate and happy from the outside may actually be having some very, very difficult and painful emotions. Also, there is something called ambivalence. Ambivalence basically means when you are not sure of how you want to feel or how you're feeling, so there is confusing information, whether you should be feeling happy. From inside you're feeling extremely sad, but from the outside people are telling you to be very happy. Okay, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of ambivalence as to whether I'm right or wrong and what's going on. And with these celebrities, I think there's so much pressure to look good all the time, to look perfect all the time, to maintain their finances, the riches, and to maintain their quality of life all the time, that they can't be their own person, they can't be true to their emotions and to themselves. And I think the loneliness just overtakes them,
Yeah.
despite being surrounded by people, which is very, very ironical. Okay,
True.
also they might have lifestyle issues, like, sometimes it's been seen that because of the excessive money they get into alcoholism and bad habits and drug abuse, uh, you know uh, uh, very unsafe kind of relationships, toxic relationships all the time, and switching from one person to the other. So they lack this whole uh, environment which would give them a sense of well-being and positive emotions, and it's just a very superficial level of happiness which they seem to be having.
Yeah. So, ma'am, what do you say? Ki when should we seek professional help? Because there's so much stigma related to seeking professional help. If you seek professional help, people think that आप पागल है, या फिर the people call it that only because there is still stigma. People don't understand mental health issues. They don't understand that
See, so
physical and yeah,
yes, so you're
physical
right,
and
but
mental issues.
society is composed of all of us. It is not something which is alien, and which is outside of us. We are also part of that society. So when it
Yeah,
comes to our own families and our own self, are we comfortable in saying that there is a mental health issue and I need to see a psychologist or a counselor? We are not. Because there was a time when people were also uncomfortable talking about AIDS and cancer,
yeah,
and they were uncomfortable talking about homosexuality. But now the narrative in the society has changed because everything is a social construction, you know. So the
Yeah.
narrative around that has changed, and now there is pride associated with these things. And we are very, very, sincerely hoping as mental health professionals that a day is soon coming where there will be pride associated with mental illness and health. So people will be able to actually talk about mental health issues and mental illness very openly, and this whole stigma which is there in society will go away, and it has to start from us. It has
Yeah.
to start from our families first. A psychologist or a counselor is just like any other doctor. So if you have dental pain, or if you want, braces or any kind of things, you need to go to a dentist, right? If you have any other issues, you would go to that specialist. So if you have issues related to the mind, you will go to that specialist. I mean, what's the big deal about it, right?
Yes, ma'am. So,
So whenever one feels overwhelmed, and one feels that there is nobody around to really understand what they are going through, and they are feeling a sense of ambivalence, either where they don't understand what's happening to them, or they feel extremely emotionally overwhelmed, then you can definitely seek professional help, and look out for a good counselor or psychologist who has a good qualification and experience in the field. And possibly if you can get some feedback on them, ask them what they have been trained in, what approach do they follow, what do they do, what does a typical session like with them go like. So like I personally have a screening session before I take people for therapy. So in the screening session, they can ask me any questions that they have, and I will tell them everything about my qualifications and my experience. And that is a free session, right? So only when we both are comfortable from our sides, then only I book them for a actual appointment. So it's very important for to be aware of good doctors, or mind doctors, or psychology doctors.
yeah. So, ma'am, we can take up any questions if someone has any questions.
Yes,
You want
of
to
course.
talk about anything else that you want to add?
No, I think expression of emotions is a very, very important thing. But expression comes later. First comes awareness.
Yeah.
Awareness, acceptance, validation, and then a healthy expression, either verbally or non verbally. But there should be no shame and embarrassment associated with saying that I'm
Feeling.
feeling negative,
Yeah.
or I'm not, sort of emotionally healthy right now. There should be no shame associated with that, no sense of weakness associated with that. Just like any physical problem, this is also, the mind and body are not separate. If your mind is not going to be functioning well, if you are going to be emotionally overwhelmed and bottling up your feelings, one day will come when it will start showing as physical symptoms. So that's the reason that so many people these days are having heart issues, endocrine disorders, hormonal problems, because there is so much of non expression of feelings.
Yeah.
It finds a way into the body. And similarly, if you don't take care of your body, if you don't go after physical fitness, it will affect your mind, it will affect your
True.
positivity and resilience. So mental and physical fitness have to get together, and that's the whole reason that yoga and meditation have so many takers these days. They've become so
True.
famous because they talk about a mind body balance, holistic health,
True.
right? Yes.
I have a question, ma'am. Like, we are in Corona times and we are not sure really what we'll do after these times and will we get a job. As I am in my final year, I'm very anxious about like what would happen with my career, and also my friends have been messaging me telling me that they're worried about their work, they have to join work, but they're very anxious to go and join their work back, and they are not
Hmm.
sure whether to go, leave their parents behind. So what should one do that in that case?
See, whenever we get worried and anxious, it just means that we are scared of what's going to happen. We
Yeah.
don't know. There's uncertainty, and we sort of feel lack of sense of control over the situation. So whatever was normal is no longer normal. Things have changed all over, right? The job scenarios have changed, the education scenario has changed, the health scenario has changed.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that we should assume that it's going to be negative only. So there's a lot of catastrophization, and that is again the evolutionary function of our emotions in our brain. Whenever there is uncertainty, we interpret it in negative terms. Okay,
Yeah.
but everything has a way of balancing out. People everywhere are working on economies and on getting maybe self generation of jobs and things, and studies also will come around. They've already started to come around in a
Yeah.
lot of places. So instead of worrying about it and instead of looking at things in a catastrophic manner, it's important just to be stay grounded and take one step one day at a time. Okay, and
Yeah.
maybe your plans need to be changed. Whatever you had thought last year needs to be re-looked at in the current scenario. But you are not alone, you are not the only one. There are so many people who are in their final year, so many kids who have given their 12th class exams,
Yeah.
and the whole community is with you. You are not alone. The entire teacher and professional groups, the parent groups, they are all concerned about you. So you are nowhere alone, right? And
Yeah.
also the coronavirus situation is not as dangerous as it seems to be, because I myself went through this corona thing in July, and the strain that we have in India is a milder strain. So most of us usually have a 15-20 day of fever like symptoms, with loss of smell maybe and flu like symptoms. And unless it becomes like a severe kind of a viral strain where you have breathing difficulties and shortage of oxygen, there is no threat to your life. So
Yeah.
only old people, very old people, and that too very seriously ill people who have you know underlying issues are vulnerable to losing their lives. And everybody else will just the immune system of the body will start responding to this virus very soon. It already has in a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
So, and what's the point of worrying? If you just worry and think about it too much, जो सारी creativity है वो भी चली जाएगी, and
Yes.
जो positive thinking आप कर सकते हो वो सिर्फ positive emotion में रह के कर सकते हो. Okay,
True.
and whenever one door closes, more doors open.
True,
So
ma'am.
new opportunities and new things will come about. Okay, so
Yes.
everybody has to keep the hope and the faith.